Yes,
I know you don't. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Fox Den. This is a long-awaited show for us. We had her scheduled, oh gosh, I don't even know how long ago now, and then we rescheduled her, and then something else happened, and now we finally got her. And this is a great month to have her too in October because we're talking about ghosts, the nature of ghosts, and everything. So
Okay. Before we get started now, people are going to come in and I'll give you the points. But right now, I've got to tell you what Gina did before the show started, before our guest even came in. Somebody told her that oregano oil is
will cure what ails you.
Cure what ails you. So she went, thought she was about
everything was truly.
She got up and ran, and I said, "I'm not laughing. I'm just pissing myself. I was killing myself." We laughed for about a good 10 minutes. So
oh my God,
it just emptied all the negative energy. It was nasty. But a look on her face, it was nasty. Who was it that told you to take that?
I could not even sit here. I had to go wash my mouth out with soap.
Who was it that told you to take that stuff?
Oh my God. All right. So while I stop laughing, I'm going to play her video and get her on here. This week in the Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D, we welcome Breannan Matris. She is a clairsentient and a psychic medium who specializes in clearing ghosts. She grew up in a haunted house where she had many encounters with a ghost she came to know as Elizabeth. Since that time, she has lived in several haunted homes and has had multiple encounters with ghosts. And these experiences, and others, inspired her to delve into the study of the nature of ghosts and of the human spirit. She was part of a research team that studied the near-death experience, which was published in a medical journal and translated into 9 European languages and published throughout Europe. She worked with California psychics as a psychic counselor and is an ordained minister from the Temple of Kyra Yoga in Chicago, and she has been a ghost expert for the Portland Walking Tours and on several radio shows and podcasts in the U.S. and Canada. She has served as a psychic for ghost hunting teams, and she has a private practice in clearing ghosts. She has recently published her first book, The Nature of Ghosts, Who They Are, What They Are, and Why They're Here. And we are eager to talk to you about that, and we welcome you and everyone to the Fox Den. Here she is, finally.
Yes.
Welcome to the Fox Den.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's our pleasure.
It is awesome to have you. Was there any comments yet? Anyone come in? Say hello. But when it comes to ghosts, I always have a lot to talk about. Oh yeah, I'm still red-faced from laughing. That was just hilarious. I blame it on Mike Fabian, okay, because he's one of the.
Did it work for your throat? Do you feel better?
No. No, because I hurt myself laughing.
Yeah.
Honest to God, what are you gonna do? But anyway, but this now according to the video, this was like your recent book, but it's been so long, so now it's been out for a little while. But it's a short read, but it's very impactful. There's a lot in here. It's a lot about your history, a lot about the way you put it on the back, just like a easy explanation. Down to earth explanations. That's what you wrote, right? Of what ghosts are, why they're here, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to start out with your childhood. What was your first encounter with the spirit? And did you know what it was?
As near as I can recollect, my first encounter was with my deceased grandfather, who came to me, I think it was a couple days after he died. And I knew it was my grandfather, and nobody had taught me about life after death or anything like that, but I was 6 years old or something, and I just said, okay, so Grandpa can be here even though he's dead. And I just mental note to self. You can have deceased people in the room with you. But I didn't go much further in that interpretation. I didn't grow up with any sort of spiritual coaching at all.
Right. Neither did I. And, my grandfather was the first one that showed himself to me when I was like 5 or 6 when he passed. But it was the night that he passed. He showed up at the foot of my bed. I saw him plain as day. And he's saying, and he's a little Italian man, he's saying, they're grabbing my feet, they're grabbing my feet, they're grabbing my feet. When I get up in the morning, my mom was sitting at the kitchen table crying. And I'm like, Mom, Grandpa was in my room and he said someone was grabbing his feet. And then she got, like more sobbing. I'm like, what's the matter, Mom? And she's like, oh, Grandpa passed away last night. And she goes, he's in, heaven, or however she explained it to me. And she goes, so he couldn't have been in your room last night. And I said, but he was. And they said they were grabbing his feet. But all the aunts and uncles, he was home hospice. And we have I don't even know, millions of freaking Italian cousins, and we used to always go to Grams and Gramps on Sunday for Sunday dinner. And we weren't allowed while, this was going on with him. So I had no clue what was going on. I had no clue that he was saying gremlins were grabbing his feet and his blankets to my aunts and uncles.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So did anybody talk you out of it? Did your mom talk you out of it?
She, when it comes to things like this, she just brushes them over. And then, oh, you must have been dreaming. Oh, you know what I mean? But it's like, it stays. Does it with you? It stays clear as bell with me. I can still see it. I can still hear him. You know what I mean? And then later when my grandmother died, she showed up in front of my bed also. Mouth moving, couldn't hear a thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that's lucky. It didn't make you afraid. I think that's really lucky that you got to see that.
I've never been afraid of them, and then I've seen other things, here and there. There was you grew up in a town where it's like, oh, this is a haunted house and that's a this and that's a that. And I'm like the first one that wants to go in it. I've always been like that.
An adventure.
I saw a video the other day and it said, if you were given $10,000 to stay overnight in a graveyard, who would be the one and only person you take with you? And I was like, Gina.
There you go.
Who are you going to call? Gina Banks.
There you go.
Yeah. So, so I've always been interested in it, and it shows it's like my ears are ringing now. So there's obviously something's going on here. They're interested in you. I think my local spirits here,
Yeah.
But now talk about the spirits that were in your house that you encountered when you were older.
That it probably started about the same time. I moved into a haunted house at age 5, and my book talks about that. And I didn't know until about 15 years ago that there was a woman who actually died there.
Wow.
And that's why the house became available. And she was a very gentle soul. So she wasn't very disruptive, but she would whisper in my ear, and she would, she's very nurturing. She would pet my hair at night. I could feel a hand stroking my hair. She showed herself to me at one point when I was about 14 years old. And then I could obviously see what she looked like. She was about 62 years old, 63 years old. And she was sort of a matronly grandmother type of person. She smiled at me as I sat there going,
Yeah.
I didn't know it was a ghost. I didn't know what it was. I was so accustomed to things happening in that house that I couldn't explain, that I was just like, there's another weird event in the house. What do you know about that? And so I didn't identify this activity as ghost. She would move things also and knock things off my shelf and my walls at night, but I don't believe she was doing it on purpose. Ghosts they can haunt two ways. They can haunt intentionally and unintentionally. And they haunt intentionally when they are able to manipulate the energy in the area to create an effect, movement of an object. But sometimes their energy is just running high. They're not aware of it. They're not in control of it. And things happen around them, and they may or may not have meant for that to happen.
Exactly. Well, also, if they're in a house that's been renovated and they're still using a doorway that's not there anymore, and they're going through your china cabinet,
Right.
when I first moved into this house, like I know there's Stanley on the 3rd floor. On the 2nd floor, there was a matronly lady, and she had a big skirt on. And actually, I'm going to show you this. She made marks on my bed because I'm an OCD person. When I get out, where is it? I got it on here somewhere. Ring marks on the bed. This one. So little dog right there. Okay. I got up and make my bed. The dog, the bed was all nice and perfect. And Lacey was up there, and she's never up there. She's usually at the foot of the bed. But I came in, I just came in the bathroom, which is right there, right here, at the beginning of this bed. And I came out, and there's ring marks on the bed. And I thought Bob came up and sat down on the bed. And I'm yelling downstairs at Bob. And he's like, "What the hell?" So he came up. I had him. So the original ones are right, the next picture after Lacey. All right, the original marks. And I straightened it all out like you could bounce a quarter off it. So he came up with his ass in front of the rings. And he's like, "I can't make a mark that big." So he made the mark that he could. So you see him sitting. So I straightened it out again, right? That's how straight it was. Then he sat down and got up, and there's a little ring. And then I said, "Well, maybe it was a heavier person." I said, "Let me sit on your lap." He goes, "Okay." He didn't want to fight that one too much, but it just made the same one ring, and that was it.
Right.
But
so, yeah, like she was laying back, or that she
sat there with all her hoops, but she must have been mad because I have seen her where my dog is. So as I come up the stairs, I can look in the bedroom, and she'd be sitting right there. So, like I think she likes to sit there, or liked to sit there before us being in there. So that's why she sat on the other part of the bed, and actually left marks. Maybe she was irritated because the dog was there. Lacey has these big bug eyes, and she's just like, "Mommy."
Yeah. They can do that. They can leave imprints. They can leave handprints too.
Oh, yeah.
I know people who have gotten the ectoplasm that they're made of is kind of a little bit of a sticky substance, and they keep it there long enough, it can be hard to clean off.
Yeah, that's what you see, like on the movies, and Hollywood embellishes that a lot, but you do see that, the handprints on the car windows, and the steamy bathrooms and what. But you can catch those things on the FLIR, too, because they on a FLIR, on a thermal camera. When you put your hand on a thermal, it will come out, yellow, red, because it's hot.
Right.
Their handprints will be dark, like I got, wait a minute, not a handprint, but these, oh, no, not this one. Come on. Sorry about that. See this right here? That's a thermal image of a man walking down a hallway, you know? And then it's a thermal image of a apparition that's groping my friend, These thermals, these were different. This was my husband passed away on a couch, and this was his face because he was face down on the coffee table in front of the couch. But that's what his face looked like, and I don't know how he transferred it to that pillow. And then the other one's the face on the ceiling.
Wow.
But the thermal,
Monica in the chat room says, "I've only ever saw, my great grandma when I was 19 and pregnant with my first child. It was freaky."
Also, they were either probably coming in because you were pregnant to like show their, that they're going to be there and they're going to watch over and they're going to help you and all that, because family definitely does that. But now, you want to see something?
Sure.
Don't be afraid of that device. It's just so we can hear you talk.
I'm unmuting my mic because that's an apparition walking. This is a sunken basketball court, but this is only a minute clip of an actual the whole clip is 15 minutes long of 15 apparitions walking, and one up above holding onto a chain link fence, swaying back and forth, looking down on us. But this is the most concentrated part of the video, and that's why I clipped this. They're in a room and they don't want to come out because we're out there.
You want to play basketball with us? Could you move again? Hello? Keep coming, it's okay. We're not going to hurt you. Right there, look at.
My friend's like, "You better be recording this."
Come in. If that's you, come in.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Isn't it insane?
Yeah.
I'm like the thermal queen.
For it. Yeah.
I
Wow.
catch a lot. I've got lots of images on the thermal. And then I also got, usually like that, it's like that, like the apparitions I've caught, anomalous things, all have been dark. But at Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, I got heat footprints walking across the floor. Now, I'd never seen anything like this. And I'm like, well, maybe it's someone else's footprints. And it's like after the fact, because Copperhead, Greg, who works there, Greg and Adam, who's in a wheelchair, was there. And these heat footprints walked by. And as they did, they left, they left this burn mark across the back of his neck. You see how big
Oh, wow.
the
Yeah.
mark is? But this is the video.
I don't know who it is, because normally they don't run away from me. Usually they stay right here. Chef's actually put an X mark on my back.
Oh my God. See, it's not even going the right way. Yes,
They were
like,
just your
I'm like, maybe
footsteps,
it
but
was
the way that
crazy.
they appeared, they just kind of went.
I didn't even know what to say.
Was that like a rash on him? Or
It was
did
a burn.
painful? It was actually a burn.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was like, ow. As soon as the thing walked by, he was like, ow. And then we wheeled him out. That was the kitchen in Trans-Allegheny at the bottom floor. And we were all in the kitchen. And we were all way back here. And Adam was sitting over, like where that trail was coming. He was sitting right there, but it must have gone right behind him and burnt him on the way by. And then we wheeled him out into the hallway and then saw how big that was across his neck.
It's an interesting shape. It's geometrical almost. I mean, it looks like it had a line.
It's like a swipe, like they swiped him or something,
Yeah.
So it's crazy. I mean,
Very
definitely
interesting.
crazy. Yeah. I mean, it's a big line,
Yeah.
Why?
I tell you, asylums are, as I'm sure you know, are places to go if you want a lot of activity.
Yeah.
There's asylums and prisons. If
Yep.
you want to see the strength of ghosts, go there.
Yeah. That's true.
That would
But
make
like, I mean, what do you do for protection if you're like even going into a house? You're going to be careful. That's what I'm always saying to people. You got to be careful with this stuff. You can't watch TV and think you're a ghost hunter and go out and run into an abandoned building or into an asylum or into any of those places unprepared because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, they can be dangerous to us. I think I'm starting to think more and more that it's really important to be intuitive in this work.
Yeah. It's very helpful.
It helps.
It's very helpful. And don't go against your intuition. If it feels like it's too big for you, don't go forward.
Yeah.
And then I think it's also really important to know your boundaries and to set them. Whether you're intuitive or not, what do you want? What do you not want? You may not touch me, or you may not follow me. I go in and because I often, when I clear them, I go by myself. And what I tell them is, I don't want to see you. You don't have to show yourself to me. I can feel you. I can hear you. And that's because of one reason. I don't think I could tolerate seeing a floating head. Full apparition. But a floating head would be too much. And I went in, and the first time I did that was when I was doing an assignment. I call them assignments with somebody who previously had seen a floating head in that house, and they left the house cleared for 2 years. They didn't rent it and they didn't live in it. And so I stepped in and said, by the way, I'm here for you. I'm going to help you. I'm happy to do that, but do not show yourself to me. And luckily he didn't. But this is a shadow figure as well. So he could have, if he wanted to get rid of me, he could have. I mean, I gave him a mechanism to do that.
Okay. Well, I do this as well. And we just got recently a call not too far from here
and a little boy was getting really attacked, and he was getting big marks on his back and pushed and scratched and bothered. But he's like a little budding psychic, you know.
Right.
So, and he doesn't understand that. But this spirit was angry spirit because he died. Okay, he died actually in the house, and then his wife sells the house. Their son was put in jail, ex-pedophile, as a matter of fact, and she took the money from the sale of the house, and that guy that died didn't want them. So I get all this information from the neighbor, right? The guy did not want the son out of jail because he didn't agree with what he did, but the mom wanted him out, because it's her boy, regardless. So she was using the money from the sale of the house to get that guy out. But now it's like, now there's none of his family in this house. He's in this house. His stuff is gone. Then they found stuff in the attic and they pulled the stuff out. That's really when the stuff started happening, and they had the stuff outside,
Yeah.
So I went in and I sealed up the house, and the kid was still like, he was afraid to go in the yard. Hi, Nicole. So he's afraid to go in the yard. So I had to go back. I had to, seal up the whole entire yard and everything. And then I told the kid, I said, I'm going to bind your powers. And he goes, no, please don't, because now I see angels and I want the angels to stay with me.
Nice.
And I said, okay, all right. But if you have a problem, I'm going to bind your powers, but now they're all good there and everything's fine, but I mean, when there was a kid involved, because usually it's like you have a big investigation, you got to find out what you're dealing with and how you want to get rid of it. You don't go in and use, a Catholic ceremony on a Native American spirit, you know what I mean? So I was using shaman, Catholic, a little bit of everything. I used everything. I just whammied the crap out of that house, sealed it up, and then I sealed it up with coins and every room with holy water. And I usually only do that on the doors coming in and out of the home. But I was like, every door, every window, everything. I'm like, there's nothing that's going to attack this child.
Yeah. It's fun it's fun to know psychic kids. It's fun to work with them and see what they have going on and how they're doing with it all. There's a little boy. His mom called me because there was a ghost child in the house. It was about the same age as this kid who was 6 or 7 and very psychic, because he could see the kid and he would talk to the kid. And mom wasn't comfortable with it. It was a new house that they'd lived in. There was actually 3 ghosts in that house, but the one that was most familiar to the family was a little boy. And because the little boy was so attached to the ghost, when I went there to do my work, I didn't believe that the little ghost would leave, because I didn't think the boy would allow it. Like energetically, I think the living child would keep him back. And so I actually had the little boy, with his mom's permission, sit in on a ritual of clearing with me. Once I convinced him, this boy can visit you, but he doesn't live here anymore. And don't you think he would be better off, blah, 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 to find his mom, which is what he was looking for. His mom was deceased, I believe, but he was with the new family because he wanted the mom and the brother and all this kind of stuff. And this little boy was killed by a stepfather figure. And so
I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. So, and it was a very, very wonderful story, because this little boy used to bring his ghost friend to school, and he was kindergarten, first grade-ish. And he would ask the teacher if he could stay inside, because his ghost friend wanted to play inside instead of go to recess. And the teacher would allow it. And I don't know if the teacher was a believer or not.
Or
he would run around with this. I'm sure maybe she thought it was an imaginary friend.
Yeah.
Which, excuse me, I have some ideas about that, and I don't think it's always an imaginary.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And so he did such a beautiful job with just understanding that there was a better thing for this little boy. And I was really proud of him. I'm like, wow, this kid's going to go places with his psychic abilities.
Oh, speaking of, Michael Robichaud said he'll be right back, but he's a shaman, very powerful one too. He helps Joni with house clearings and things like that remotely. Which is what I love about a shaman, is that they can do these things remotely. I have to physically be there. I can't do things remotely, But do you find that you want to curb your powers sometimes so that you can like more listen. Because sometimes, like, I don't know, when I go into a place, and I don't really say this a lot, but when I go into a place, like the spirits are really like bombarding you, you know, and you got to like kind of stop, you know, because you want to hear the person and their explanations. Sometimes I feel like I sound like an idiot because it's like I gotta get this out. You know what I
Going
mean?
like this a lot, and people don't know what you're doing.
Oh, get, you know.
You know, I don't have that experience too much. I have those that come back and then they leave and they come back and they come back, and I feel bad I haven't resolved it for them, whatever it is that they're wanting. But I think part of it too is I stay so busy in my day job that I'm not always open. I'm focused on what I'm doing, and I'm just not always that open. So
Yeah, I ground and shield twice a day, every day. You know, because otherwise, you know, the empath and that will be overwhelming.
yeah, I know people that have that issue for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nuts. It is nuts. Now you talk though, like about like who they are, and you know the phases of what a ghost spirit goes through, like the death part of it. You know,
Yeah.
so when we die, there's phases that we go through.
Stage. Yeah. Yeah. Um, what the near-death experience has taught us ultimately is that there's 5 stages, generally speaking. And what it looks like is once our body stops being alive, the first thing that happens is we have a tendency to feel very calm and peaceful, and we're out of pain. There's no more pain. The next stage is where it appears that the focal point of our awareness shifts from being affiliated with the face and the head and moves into somewhere in the immediate environment where you can observe your resuscitation and the commotion or whatever else might be going on. You're an observer. And then as you're blipping around still in this environment, a tunnel presents itself, which is quite large. And there's a sense of being pulled through or guided energetically through the tunnel, but it doesn't force. It doesn't, you still have free will. And then at the end of the tunnel is a light. And within the light is what's called the inner setting. And what happens to some people for their own reasons is they don't complete the transition. And unfortunately, for reasons that I don't understand, and I'd like to understand, because it makes no sense to me that this happens. But after about 3 days, if you don't complete the transition, you get stuck. You get stuck in the second stage. You get stuck in the physical environment. And the reason that you get stuck is because there's an attunement that you lose during those approximate 3 days. You are attuned when you die to the process of the transition. You are attuned to those that are there to help you, which they always are, 100%. It's spiritual law. You're attuned to the relatives that might be in the room. You're attuned to the tunnel. You're attuned to the light. You might not know what's going on. You might be very confused. You might think you're in a dream, but you're able to witness it.
Yep.
After 3 days, you're no longer able to witness it. It's like the attunement that you had is lost. So there's no more, those that are there to help are still with you. They're with us now, but they aren't being seen. They're not being recognized. So it's a huge dilemma for somebody trying to transition because they can't find their way out. It's very difficult to find their
Well, what
way out.
happened to me now was this. Broke my collarbone. I had a shot of Demerol. I had Percocets. I had to go from the hospital to x-rays to this to that. I was in pain. I come home. I take more. And then I'm like, okay, I really want to take a shower. I take a shower. The water gets cold. I start shivering and hurts like hell because you can't do anything with a broken collarbone. I take more pills. So ultimately, I OD. But I had just my towel on. I'm like, don't touch me. I'm laying on my couch. And I'm just laying on my couch. I pass out. And then all of a sudden, I'm in my childhood home. I'm going down my mom's hallway. I'm not walking. I am floating. And I'm going in increments. in increments, And then I look over, I see my brother's door, I see the bathroom door, I see the door that goes down to the cellar. I can see my mom's door, I can see my door. My mom's is straight ahead. And I'm thinking to myself, I gotta, my mom's back there and I gotta wake her up. That's what I'm thinking in my head. I gotta wake her up. But I'm like, well, why am I here? And then I move, like another 3 or 4 feet, right? And then all of a sudden, like things from my childhood bedroom are floating by me. I'm like looking at it going, oh, this is really weird. Why are these things coming, And then I'm like, oh, I remember this, and it's like this like little statue I had on my bureau, all this stuff. And then I'm trying to grab it. I can't, right? It's just disappearing.
Yeah.
And then I get closer and now I can grab the thing. Now I'm trying to throw it because no sound will come out. I'm trying to throw it at my mom's door and it's disappearing before the door. I'm getting irritated now, And I'm like, what the heck, And then I'm trying to speak, still nothing. I move closer and now, it's like, I'm going, wait a minute. And it does look like there's a light underneath her door. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I know she's in there. Now she's not dead at this point. She just died this year, unfortunately. But there was a light under there and I'm just thinking that my mom's there. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I'm dying. And I said to myself, like, I'm dying. I'm like, oh, no, I don't want to die. I tried to say, I don't want to die. Nothing would come out. And then I screamed it, I don't want to die. And then the next thing I know, it was like, boom, I got slammed into the couch, and then I woke up and I was covered in sweat. And from that point on, that's when I have my distinct tones that I hear when a spirit comes in. So I have 2 high tones and a medium, a high tone, which is like more angelic, a medium tone, which is like a regular ghost spirit, a low tone, not so good, which is very helpful when I take people on ghost hunts.
Mm-hmm. Did you hear a tone as you were essentially dying? Because that can happen too.
I don't know, because I was trying to scream. You know what I mean? Like it was, I was so baffled as to why I was at my mom's house to begin with. I'm like, why am I not walking? How am I moving? How is like this? I'm questioning everything, but just so confused. Like I've never been that confused in all my life.
That's you in your astral body wandering around.
Yeah. And then the clarity of what it was freaky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can be scary.
Yeah.
I had no reason to think that I was dying, but I had an out-of-body experience just spontaneously. And this is when I was about 20 years old. I don't know why. I wasn't under any influence of any kind of drug or anything like that. And I was out of my body and I was floating over the floor, like you said, floating. And I had heard about astral projection, but I never really thought much of it. But I said, I'm astral projecting. That's what this is.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's like all of a sudden your mind realizes what you're doing.
Yeah. And I'm adventurous like you, like kind of fearless. Yeah. And I'm like, cool. Let's see what I can do now, And because I wasn't worried about dying or, anything like that. And so I'm up against this wall as I'm floating above the floor and I'm headbutting it because I'm thinking, I wonder if I can go through this wall. And next thing I knew, I was on the other side of the wall and I'm floating over the grass outside. And I remember it was cold. And I thought, wow, I didn't know you could feel temperature like this. I wouldn't have thought that. Mm-hmm. And so I said, okay, where do I want to go? And I was living in the Northwest like I am now. And I thought, I know, I'll go home and see my family. I'll tell them, I'll watch what's going on. The next day I'll call them and I'll freak them out. So I had this big plan. And so I thought that if I just thought of going home, I would just be there. I for whatever reason, I just instinctively thought that would happen. And it didn't. So I thought, okay, I know how to get there by car. So I can get over to the freeway. I'll just follow the signs and I'll just float down the freeway.
For miles and miles and miles.
Yeah. Yes. Miles and miles. And I thought, no, that sounds a little boring. I'm going to go bigger. I'm going to go to the stars. Now, when I thought that, it happened instantly. And I was up among the stars. I could not see the earth. And I was absolutely terrified.
Wow. Because no earth. There's no.
I did not know where earth was.
Yeah.
I did not know what to expect. See, I was too adventurous. And
Yeah.
so like you, I was yelling, but I could hear my voice. And what I was yelling was for the man who I knew was in the next room, who I also knew had a near-death experience. And he was a cool guy. And I was yelling his name, John, 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 John. And I remember I didn't have to breathe. And so I was really excited about that because I could just chant John, 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 John forever.
Wow.
The next thing I knew, I bolted back into my body. I don't know how long this whole thing was, but I remember like my eyes bulging, like I bolted back and my eyes were bulging. And I had my hand over my heart and I walked out and I said, John, I think
That's
I just
what
let
I was.
Yes. It's like you have to calm yourself down. Something about the heart chakra in those moments. It's like, just,
Yeah.
And it was very humbling. You don't mess with this. I just thought it was cool. And I was going to experience.
No, that's why, I leave that to shamans. I don't try to practice that anymore. I won't do that, because what if you can't like that? What if you can't find your way back to your body? Then what? Is
Right.
your body in a coma and they're going to keep you that way and that you're out there forever? I mean, what would be that? What would be the end result? So that's a scary thing. But the shamans, they're taught that from, a young age or, before they even astral project or look at anything, then they'll, they have all the training.
That's what shamans are for.
Yeah.
That's what they can help us with for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Lisa says it sounds like a body checkup when you put your hands on your heart as you come out. It's like, all good. Okay, breathe. No.
Yeah, it was sort of like that was
Makes
cool.
sense.
But after mine, I went over and I threw away all those pills. It was like, I'll deal with pain.
Yeah. See, it's scary. Yeah.
Yeah, right. There's another reason for a panic attack. Yeah, another reason. Oh my God. So
But you did it when you didn't do it specifically. It was because you were having near-death experience that you astral projected. Sorry, I missed the beginning, Breanna. Did you? It was your choice, or did you have a near-death experience that made you the astral travel?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a near-death experience. It happened spontaneously. It happened spontaneously one time prior when I was a child, but it was very brief.
Okay.
And why it happened spontaneously, I don't know.
Learn a lesson. You had to learn a lesson.
To show you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, your guides are funny.
Real funny.
That's guys.
I got very protective ones. They want to keep me here grounded.
Yeah. That's what I need to do is just ground me. Yeah, for sure. That's why I say I'm really curious and very interested, like a lot of people are in the paranormal, but there is a limit to what you should indulge in without having somebody with you who knows more than you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's all the people, I know a lot, but I don't know everything, I would know enough that I would feel safe, secure to take someone that doesn't know anything on or into a place.
It's an entire universe. I mean, you're entering an entire, even ghosts, it's like they're in this is an entire universe. It's like, we'll never know everything. And what we don't know can be creepy.
Yeah. Lisa in the chat goes, first two times, first during surgery, second during surgery. Swear going back into the body hurts so bad.
I got
slammed in. Both of you got slammed in. So yeah.
Yeah.
Really hard transition sometimes on many levels.
Crazy. But now I find too, like the differences between, because you talk about this too. Now, the way I see it is a ghost is a person that dies, don't realize that they died, or are afraid of, crossing over because they're afraid that they did something bad. They're not going to be forgiven. Whatever the reason, they're holding on to human emotions. That's a ghost. Yeah. A spirit is that person that dies that is not afraid to go over there, that does take that invitation, that does go open that door and go through it and go to their loved ones and their ancestors and their everything, and their guides guide them. And then they learn that they can come back and be someone's spirit guide, helper, whatever. So that's what I think is the difference between a ghost and a spirit. That's how I define them.
Yeah. I define it a little bit differently. And that is that a ghost is part of the spirit that stays behind, and that we're spirit now. I mean, I'm
Wait.
talking spirits here when I talk to you. But when we die, the spirit can actually differentiate, and parts of the spirit will make the transition when other parts stay. And you're right, it's the emotional part. It's
Mhm.
the emotion. Ghosts are often emotionally charged.
Exactly.
so-
Yeah. Greed, lust, envy, hate.
Right. They're
fear.
not done yet. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lisa says yes, or like a more experienced or mature ghost. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What I have found is that they tend to halt the transition, which generally is a very easy thing to experience. If you're passive, you'll go through the transition. But it's fear, like you said, where people are going, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going
Right.
to stay familiar. I didn't have my last rites read, or I didn't live a good life in general, or I just don't know what's behind that curtain. I'm going to stay where it's familiar.
Or my house.
Yeah, this is my house. Yes. Or they're feeling possessive of something. I think that one of the death conditions that causes the most ghosts are women who die in childbirth.
Mm.
Because it's like, I'm not leaving my baby. I haven't even met my baby yet. I'm staying right here. Those are called ghosts of passion. They have something they want to stay for: the house, the job, the wedding they're supposed to be in tomorrow, whatever. It could be like,
Oh,
I
God.
have a
Yeah.
hair appointment that I've been waiting for. It could be anything. Or they're afraid of what's behind that door, or they're passionate, or they're confused. I've worked with several ghosts that just don't know what's going on. They think they're in a dream. They think they're in a coma.
Yep.
You know, they think they're under some sort of weird drug state, and
Right.
those are
I
probably
don't realize it. Yeah.
It's sad, isn't it? I mean, because that's what, people get afraid of that, but that's our job. Is we got to go in, we got to talk to the people, and then talk to the spirit. And then it's like the spirit knows that, you're going to talk to them. So they're like, it's like, stop, I'm going to get to you. All right.
And you say, shut up.
Yeah. Just for now, for now.
Hush,
I want
hush
to talk
for
to
now.
person first. Like, I want to know what happened with you. What is your problem with this spirit? So you tell
Yeah.
me everything. And then I send them away. Then I'll go and I'll talk to the spirit. Well, you know what their problem is. So what is yours? Why are you still here?
Yeah.
And then you try to come up with a reason if they can stay together. And if not, one or the other has to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you find, you probably do if they're contacting you, that most people are really freaked out by living with them, or you found some that are feeling comfortable about it, or?
Well, I'm very comfortable with the ones that are here. And then there's some other ones that come in and out. But it's like, two of the owners of the house are here. The woman is very, very frequent that I see her anymore. Really not at all. There's a little boy that comes on the stairs that is only there like in the summertime. All right. But I found out that kid was deaf, that kid was part of this woman that was here. Okay. And so he would sit on the stairs. Now I've seen him from the waist down, wearing the shorts and the high socks and stuff. So I don't know what he looks like up here. But Bob has seen him actually full figure on the couch several times downstairs on the first floor. And I've never seen him down there.
And some ghosts I know can be seen only by psychics, and some at times can be seen by just about anybody in the room. What's going on in your house?
Oh, there's a lot going on in my house.
But is it just psychic people that would be seeing them, or did they run the frequency where anybody could see them, do you think?
Well, Bob is a little gifted too, so he gets to see them. Other people that I've had come over that, like our friends that are in the field that investigate, some are more gifted than others. They might see something, like looking at this house, I saw Stanley upstairs on the third floor, right? I saw him out of my peripheral, and it's like I knew that was his room. And what it was floor to ceiling books in there, and that was all his books. And of course, they were cleaned out to sell the house. He wanted his books. Now, you see, I have lots of books. I have another library downstairs. I got books everywhere. Okay, I have one Western civilization book in my entire house, which was downstairs. When we were moving in, it's like this thick and big and heavy. Okay, and I would put it on the shelf, and then it would be on the floor. And again, like I blame Bob for the hoop marks.
Blame Bob.
I was blaming Bob for, why are you taking my book off the shelf and putting it on the floor? He's like, are you nuts? It's like, I'm not doing that. And then I met my neighbor, Doug, who told me about him taking all the books out. And I said, oh, Stanley, do you want this book? So I brought that book upstairs to his room, and now I buy him books. Right. So he has several, because he was
His
upset
own
about
library.
books going, which I have on recording on the spirit box and everything, him talking about his books. And we had the ghost detectives, and I think Rich was here that night. Right.
Nice.
And we were all here, and Bella was in the hallway, and I'm in here in the office, and we had the spirit box at the foot of the stairs, and he starts yelling about my books, and the machine goes boom. Bella jumped. So she jumped off the chair like she butt jumped, and was, I think, downstairs, and I think her feet might have hit the floor twice. She was
Oh my gosh.
But I'm like saying, okay, because I'm trapped in here now. I have to talk to him. You know what I mean? I can't like go by him because it's like the doorway, it's right there. Right. So I'm like, okay, well, listen, I know what happened to your books. Some of them were donated and some of them had to be destroyed because they're dry rotted. You know, I cannot get them back. I can see if I can get some of your donated books back. Will that make you happy? And then it was like a calming feeling.
Yeah.
And then the yes comes over the spirit box. So I did look into it and I couldn't get the books back. So I buy him books and I put them up there.
No, it's no wonder you have a lot of ghosts at your house. You're the perfect host.
Yes, agreed.
I
Unless,
become
of course,
a
you're a
host, I'm going
spider.
there. That's for sure. Yeah, that's amazing. Well, you're obviously very talented.
Oh,
You know, not everybody has them, you know, surrounding them like that. You know?
well, they don't bother me. You know what I mean? And it's like, and I don't talk to them all the time either. You know, I have like office hours. You know what I mean? There's a time and a place for it. You know, but right now I think they're here because they're interested in you, and your powers and your gifts. You know what I mean?
I was going to say they're all around you, especially that woman.
Yeah, so they want to know about you though.
Well, I'm happy to tell them.
Hey, shut up. Yeah.
No, go to Gina's.
No, I have my friends come here and they can't even believe it. Like I do an EVP set. I just let a recorder run, you know. And here's a funny story. All right, at the beginning of first coming in here because I was trying to figure out who was here, you know. And I go upstairs and it was like Christmas time stuff, and I'm putting boxes away, and I just had on a short nightgown thing, like a t-shirt nightgown. And one of the APPs up there, and I'm putting boxes down, and I can see her butt.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, oh my God. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Let me go put some pants on. Long John's, here we come.
Yeah. And then Bob works building ghost equipment down in the basement, you know, and he's like, well, they better not bother me down here. They're not allowed down here. It's like, you go in my dining room and there's a woman that comes up and the men were talking and the men yelled at the woman to get back downstairs. I'm like, well, you're not alone down there, Bob.
You're clairvoyant. You're clairsentient and clairvoyant. It sounds like you
It's-
feel them and you also see them. And
Well, I don't see them all the time. I don't say I'm psychic. I don't say I'm any of those things. It's like it just happens. I'm claircognizant. I know things. I know how to do things. Okay.
Right.
But this, like, I can't bank on this. I can't say I can give you a reading and say that your loved ones are going to come. I can't say that because I don't know, you know, I don't know if I could do that, you know.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I know that when I go to do, I'm good at what I do. I'm good at investigating. I'm good at communication with the person and the spirit. I'm good at the division part of it. And what I can't do, I will get someone that can do it, you know, because I'm not, you know, the end all be all. I can't do everything, you know.
Yeah, I've never met a psychic that was exactly like any other psychic. I mean, they have a couple of different classifications, but it's like such a journey of self-discovery, really, you know, and figuring out, you know, exactly what you're good at and what you're not good at. I feel them, I occasionally see them, and I know information. What's really interesting is, and I heard other psychics talk about this, is I'll get information about a ghost a couple days prior to getting a call that's connected with that ghost. And I find that fascinating. So I'm getting information for no apparent reason. I will write it down and then I'll get a call.
Yep.
And it'll be a pairing. Yeah, that happens with you too?
Yeah, but yeah, like,
Love that.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It's just like, why is this? Yeah, well, I'm sure I'll find out, you know?
It's fabulous because it just goes to show there's a higher orchestration going on that we're a part of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's things happening behind the scenes that are connecting the dots.
Can you put that back up? I didn't read it, Mama.
Okay.
So,
So Lisa again, chalky, transparent, see it in my head or looks like me and you. We all are, we are all different with overlaps.
right. Okay. Yeah,
Spirit
that's
is
true.
somewhat
That's true.
different. It's like-
And then
it's like-
there are all of these, right? So clairvoyance is seeing, clairaudience is hearing, clairsentience is scenting, clairgustance is taste. I don't really have that. I can't taste anything but oregano.
That happens. COVID can knock these out of our
Right.
existence, our psychic ability to taste.
Yeah. Clairolfaction, clairalience is smell, and claircognizance is knowing.
Yeah.
What's the or one? Clear or?
Oh, it is taste and smell. Olfaction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
See?
I mean, a lot of people, when you go to certain places, you go to some like Hillview Manor, where there's an old woman in one of those rooms and you smell her perfume, but a lot of people are leaving perfume for her, but that's how it started because they smelled her perfume. You go into a gentleman's club, you'll smell or
Cigars.
yeast. Yeah. Cigars, pipe, this, that, so that's all that kind of stuff. Hate taste, English woman, fish. I like chowder.
There's a difference. You still would need it.
Chowder. And you gotta say it like that because I'm a Massachusetts person. Down here it's chowder. Cigars or whiskey. Yeah, because you smell those things. But we use those things as trigger props too, for if we're taking people on investigation. They're this is what they want to see. They want to see that there's proof that this goes on, that this happens, So we have a thing called HTO. And it has an alligator clip, and you can clip it directly to anything metal, or you can clip it to like a tray, and you can put because a bottle of water you can put on the tray because water is a conductor. So if you grab it, it will light the light on the device. And actually, I do have a clip on here that I could show you that on Ghost Hunters. I love chowder.
Hello? Somebody help us, please?
We heard that you take in wounded soldiers.
We are also Masons. I saw the Mason flag outside.
Tango!
Holy. Something keeps touching it.
Do you think maybe they're trying to bring you your sword?
I feel like once we said we're Masons, that's when it started going off.
Because the Weems family Masons. This is somebody in the Weems family.
Are you Thomas? There goes.
Are you here with us now? This is why you put stuff on and you put yourself in their shoes. This is why you do that. You're absolutely right.
that's our HT, and they've used some of our other stuff too, but I thought that was cool. But that's a specific item monitoring. So we have like something for everything. So we have manifestation, that's static, and we have vibration, that's a geophone. We have that specific monitoring. We have proximity that you actually have to touch it, like a VPod, and our animals, so we have animals that we make. So those are very helpful on investigations.
They really are.
Yeah, especially you want to communicate with a grandma or a grandpa or a child. You put a cat or a dog out, and they feel comfortable petting the animal. And that's the state that you want them in for communication. You don't want to go in and kick in the door and say, start talking. You know what I mean? Like
That's interesting, using animals. That's a good idea, especially with kids.
Yeah. It really, really is. And our animals are lifelike, so they look like real cats and dogs.
Yeah.
So even at Penhurst, like we take the cats and dogs there, and the dogs will work in one building, but like in Mayflower building in the basement, they love the cat down there for some reason. They'll pet the cat,
It's a mouser.
put them both, but they'll go for the cat every time.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys got it going on over there. We have some of the most haunted places in Portland, but they're starting to close them down because we have Shanghai tunnels.
Oh.
I don't know if people know about it. It's one of the top 10 in the United States. And it's
I've never
place,
heard.
horrible, horrible history, but it's underground. And it has tunnels that are 20 miles long altogether that lead to the river, where there were kidnappings and enslaved people that would go from the rivers into the Pacific Ocean. And I don't know where they went from there, honestly, but they would bring people down and they would talk about the history, and they'd ask the groups that went down there, do you want to hear more about the hauntings, or do you want to hear more about history? So you can get kind of a combo if you want on what's going on there. But very, very haunted place. I remember I was down with my EMF meter that lights up when there's energetic changes. And there was about 20 seats that were kind of in a half moon formation. And I let the group go ahead of me, and I kind of stayed behind, and I took my meter across the chairs. And I noticed that about every third or fourth one, there'd be a flashing. And when I went a second time, it would change, and there'd be a flashing in different seats and that kind of thing. And it's a place where commonly, if you're in one area, you could get your ear bit, because there had been some boxing or something down there and somebody bit somebody's ear. And
Oh my
so
God. Mike
they
Tyson?
like to do
Yep.
that.
They pulled a Mike Tyson.
Yes, pulled a
I'm
Mike.
before Mike Tyson.
It was
Yeah,
an original Mike Tyson, I think.
there you go.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. Maybe that's where I get the idea from.
yeah, there's a lot of activity down there, but it's closed now because it's just doesn't have the integrity. It's become dangerous. So
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this is why we do the Penhurst Paracon. I mean, Penhurst Asylum was massive, right? It's a lot of ground. There were a lot of buildings. Now, with the benefits that go from doing the Paracon every year, which gets bigger and bigger and bigger, so it creates more money for them, which is great, and that's why we do it. So we destroy ourselves for $0, people. Okay, to go in there, so that benefits Penhurst for renovations, for restorations, what they can save. And then people get upset. Well, they tore down this building. It's like, yeah, because it couldn't be saved.
Right.
Now that opened up, when you tear that down and get it out of the way, then you have more parking. Now you have more of this, you have more of that. The integrity of the place, your safety, because people will try to get in there anyway, and they could get hurt. But now, the buildings that are safe, that are structurally sound, are getting repairs, they're getting cleaned up, and we get to use them. And we go in more and more and more buildings every year. So that's why we get to have more and more people. That's why it expands, plus celebrity guests help, So, I mean, we know everybody. So,
Yeah. Well, and Pennsylvania has some old structures, that's for sure. Older than we have here out west.
Out west is amazing stuff, though. Oh my God! Like all the ghost towns, all the the western towns, the stuff like that. I'm dying to go there. You got the Bobby Mackeys and stuff. Like I don't want to go there, but but it's that way.
Yeah.
But
Jerome,
I do like what?
I was going to say Jerome, Arizona. It's not exactly west, but it's west of Pennsylvania. It's an old mining town that's a ghost town. Literally, it's supposed to be one of the biggest condensation of ghosts in the nation, I thought.
Yeah, it's like there's so much stuff there, and then and up above, like was it Missouri? I believe it's Eloise. I think the Penhurst owns that also, and they wanted us to go out there and put a Paracon out there too. I'm like, I looked at it as like 17-hour drive. I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. You know what I mean? That's a little too far. When I was younger, I would go on these long adventures. Not now. I can't do it.
I can't think of off the top of my head, I can't think of any other places that have concentrations. I get a lot of work from people who just have haunted houses all over the place and haunted businesses. But like concentrated places, I can't think of any like major disasters that have happened here in my immediate environment that has caused something like that.
No
We have
jails that are closed or anything like that?
not that I'm aware of or that I've heard of. There's something called, we call it the cut, which is where a railroad was dug out, and bunch of Chinese people back at the turn of the century worked on and died there. It's known for that. That's the most concentration that I've heard of. You know, they would like cut through rock and they'd have explosions so that the train can go through the mountainous areas and things like that. And a lot of people died then, but that's it.
Oh my God, yeah. Pennsylvania, because it's a mining place, you know, there's been so many disasters. Centralia is still closed. You know what I mean? Because it's still burning underground. So no one can live there. I mean, I think a couple of people held out and they're in a place where they can actually stay or whatever. But yeah, but you're not even supposed to, you know, go there.
Yeah.
You know? But there's so much tragedy in this state. It's besides, you know, even the Civil War stuff, and then, you know, the mining disasters and train disasters and all that kind of stuff. Oh, there's so many mine disasters. The Avalon mine disaster was a big one. You know, Max Furyk, you know, the other writer there, he writes a lot about some of the things that have happened here and hauntings and UFO things, and you know, and then we're right next to New York, and New York has a ton too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so,
it is the sudden deaths, the unexpected deaths that tend to be those that produce the ghosts.
Right.
It's just disorienting, and they're just
right. And then I grew up in Massachusetts, which was, you know, central. I mean, I was 45 minutes out of Salem. You know, but we have Plymouth, and we had our battlegrounds up there. We had the Minutemen. We had all that. You know, Concord, Lexington. You know, there's way haunted up there. Boston, way haunted. You know, like so many locations. So yeah, I just like grew up with it all. And you know, and those are the first original colonies. And you got a lot of Native American stuff going on up there as well. You know.
Yeah, you know, it's very historic. There was, as I was doing some of the research for my book, it was found out that like 500 BC, they had cuneiforms, I think is what it's called, basically clay artwork of ghosts. 500 BC. That's the first, the most original that anybody's been able to conjure up. But they've been here forever.
Yep.
They've been here as long as we have not been prepared to die.
That's it.
You know,
that is it. Yeah.
So,
but the Native Americans would, you know, they want to talk to their ancestors. They would go and, you know, do the LSD trips to talk to their ancestors and to find their spirit guides and stuff like that. We do it via meditations, although some people do go to those, you know, Africa, wherever they go, I don't know, to do these trips, and they get to take something. I don't know. I wouldn't do it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
No, not me. You know, I'm not going to be in a jungle taking some kind of LSD. Sorry.
It's natural though. It's not, LSD is not a natural product. What they take in the jungles is a natural product. It's not an artificial.
I don't care what it is. You're going to mess up my mind and stick me in a jungle and there's animals out there that I don't even.
There's spiders, and Gina ain't going there.
No.
You might be too sensitive, Gina. You might go way out there, way like beyond your spirit guides. Who knows where?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's how I found out the fox is my spirit guide, because I went beyond. You know, I did a guided meditation to find my spirit guides, and they guide you into a tunnel, into a cave, and you're supposed to sit there and wait. And I see the little pinprick of light, and I go picking at it. You know, and then all the rocks break away, and then there's all the foxes. It's like tall grass, and then I look up on the hill, and there's this being, and I have a picture. I drew a picture of it because this being, like, I'm looking at it. Okay, first of all, I'm looking up the hill. I'm with the foxes, and the foxes are like actually keeping me beyond here. And I'm looking at it, and it's like an altar, right? And this being, and I thought it was a man because he had long hair and long robes. And then a book. It's almost like a glowing book. And then all of a sudden it turns around and it looks at me, and it looks like this. And I'm like, what the hell is that? You know? And I'm like, you know, it almost looked like, I mean like a lion-like face, but human, but But no, it was just the weirdest, lion cat-ish thing. But again, it's a thing that I don't forget, But then I was like, okay, I go back in the cave,
Interesting.
That's
Yeah.
how I
This
knew about
this is a question in the chat room. Sorry to interrupt. If a person dies suddenly or tragically, they know they are dead? Question mark.
not all of them.
Sometimes.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
yeah. That's the problem. That's why they get stuck. That's why they need counseling. Oh,
Yeah. If they're confused, it could be an
sorry.
issue.
I won't touch it.
Keep your fingers off my buttons.
All right, I won't touch it.
That was for you. Thanks.
I'll tell you, speaking about spirit guides, there's a place out here by Mount St. Helens called Spirit Lake. And it's been called Spirit Lake forever. And I was out there back, it was 1979. So it was 7 months before the mountain blew. And a group of us saw spirits, not ghosts, but spirits. And they were different because the first one we saw was pure light. And it was the figure of about a 10-year-old child, very, very joyful. It was above the lake, bright white light with no radiance,
Cool.
just solid white light. And it was skipping in circles, and it was very childlike. And it would walk up like it was climbing on something. And I remember it would bend down and it would slip on something that we couldn't see. There was about 6 of us watching this. And we watched for like 10 minutes or so. And above its head, there were 6 lights. So that being had spirit guides, as I see it.
Okay.
Or at least
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And those lights, there were 6 of them, and they would change color independently. And it would follow behind its head everywhere it went at equal distance. And 4 of them were larger than the other 2, but they would turn green and blue and red, and they would change every, 15 seconds or something like that. And then all of a sudden, the being turned fainter in light and floated up and then completely disappeared.
Wow.
And so because of and then everybody sort of cried and were like, wow. And, it was a beautiful thing. It was really a beautiful thing. And then later that night, I was an adventurer. I'm like, what else? Yeah, wow, this is a cool place. And I'm sitting in a cabin and I'm just looking at Mount St. Helens in its fullness. It had its top. And I'm looking out over the lake and at the mountain. And I see a Native American woman dancing and doing the most beautiful, authentic, prayerful dance that I can even imagine. She had her chest and her face towards the sky often. She had her arms out. She would twirl, drop to her knees, touch the ground, stand back up. And what was so fascinating is that she was much dimmer light. The being on the lake was very effulgent. She had dimmer light. She had very long dark hair and a traditional dress on. And she would point to the sky and twirl as she looked up. And above her head, there were many, many, it looked like starlights, probably 100 or something. And I watched her for like 20 minutes. And then stupidly, I decided I had enough for one day of this information. And I went to bed and I never got to see what happened and, what else could have happened? How did she exit? What?
Oh my God. Yeah.
And I was like asking for more, since then. But, yeah, it's one of my big regrets. But, and then 6 months later, the mountain blows. But I find it very interesting. They called it Spirit Lake, and we were not the only ones that saw things. That's for sure. Yeah.
Awesome. That is awesome. So you have many, many generations, all kinds of ancestors. I think she was dimmer because she's more of a grounded earth spirit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the other is, more astral.
She was dancing on her own ground. I could see the ground in her like light shadow, essentially. And I could see it looked like dry grass or something that she was dancing on her own mound, on her own platform. Yeah.
Question in the chat room, ladies, your opinions on it. Is a spirit guide the same as a guardian angel?
It could be. It could be. A I mean, spirit guides can come. Spirit guides are like assigned to you at birth, really. You know what I mean? That are not human, but you can have. I mean,
You can have angels as
have
guides.
angels as guides. You can have loved ones, you know,
Yeah, your relatives.
or as guides. So there's so many different. You could have the animals as guides. So everyone has different guides. You know,
Some of the Native American people used to teach living people how to be guides
right?
after they died. So
Yeah, I mean, we need to bring that into our civilization.
yes,
You know,
yeah.
There's a lot of things that should be taught to us as the human species.
yeah. I mean, I think. Do you think that the veil is definitely thinner now than it used to be many years ago? And then, like when we were kids and seeing those things, it wasn't really talked about. You know, you brought it up, and then it was like, no, we're not going to talk about that.
I think what's definitely different is the freedom to talk about it
Yes.
without being worried about stigmatized.
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly.
Like I don't know if the veil itself is thinner or not. Maybe global warming. I don't.
Huh, I wonder.
I think my opinion
Well,
on that
more dead
is that I think that we're open enough now to talk about it, whereas back in the day, they'd be like, "You're a what? No, forget that. You're a witch." It's a negative connotation, but now it's like be
Yeah.
open to it, and that's I think what for me that would be the most important thing. That's what makes it. I mean, it could be thinner, but
Yeah.
for me, I think it's just that we're able to talk about it. People are open minded enough to listen and not judge.
People
Well,
will.
see, Mama D's talked to angels when she was a kid, or still does.
Mhm.
So,
Work with
yeah.
angels and butterflies. I do have spirit guides that are animals, and I found that out in the meditation. But my first connection was with angels. I was a good little Catholic girl going to Catholic mass and doing the catechisms and all those fun things, and the priest used to have to physically touch me to bring me back into the zone.
The fold. So were they accepting of the fact that you could see and your spirit guides or your angels?
I wouldn't talk about it because for me these were my friends. I didn't feel the need to share them with anybody. So, but that was my thing. And when I first came out as Mama D, I kept it to myself because I didn't think my family and my friends would understand. And then I got to the point where I don't care what y'all think. I just do what I do. I do me.
Right. It feels like a risk until you don't care what people think. And I find that sometimes I'll just be shut down. And then other times people are like, wow, well, while you mention it, I got a story. And so it actually allows them to feel safe and tell some of their stories. And that's lovely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I used to work at a convenience store, and there was a woman one time came in, and her child was autistic, but would also talk to a friend. And the mother goes, "I'm sorry, but my son has imaginary friends." I said, "No." He said, "He's talking to people. He's just talking to people that you can't see, but only he can." And she was like sort of taken aback that the idea that I was understanding about it and not hushing it and not telling the child to hush. I was just like, let him go. There's no issue, no need to keep him quiet. Just let him have his conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
I know that the belief in ghosts anyway is on the increase. I don't know about other things.
Well, you talk to people and they say, well, what do you do? And it's like, well, I go talk to ghosts.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's so many more shows about it now that it's more an open thing. That people get
but normal people,
and then they sit there and go
on the street, whatever, your neighbors, this and that.
Exactly.
Like,
and people be like, "Are you on that show?" No, the show's all about me. But yeah, you have to be.
But they say that, and you say, you talk to ghosts or something, and they say, I don't believe in ghosts, but
yes,
this happened. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Everyone has a butt.
I was a butt.
You are a butt.
I know somebody who said that they didn't believe in Sasquatch, but they did see a very giant ape-like, what is it called, a pedophile when you're on 2 feet, that I couldn't explain what it was, but I don't believe in Sasquatch.
Not a pedophile.
No.
I know. I said pedophile, right? Pedophile.
Pet is something. I don't know. I don't believe in Bigfoot. I really don't. I have an imprint that I got from Eric Altman, who goes on all the Bigfoot things. I'm friends with Maria Mayer. That's on Bigfoot expeditions on TV. We had her at Nurse Paracon last year, and we talked a lot actually on the phone. And she tells me about her adventures that she's gone on. But I still don't believe in Bigfoot. I mean, I think she's out there chasing nothing. You know what I mean? Like you hear a stick crack and you see I mean, sometimes trees fall into each other, and well, that could be a Bigfoot house. It's like, I mean, come on. If they break up there, well, okay, obviously a buck didn't do it when rut, but it just could be a weak tree. I mean, it's storm. It can just fall over. I mean, like all these things can be explained. To me, if Bigfoot existed, there would be bones. There would be a history. There is bones of dinosaurs. There are no bones of a Bigfoot.
That's what hangs me up on it too. Is the bones.
There are people who believe that Bigfoot lives in a different
dimension.
Right. Thank you. I say time zone. It's like the same thing. And biped is what they are when they walk on 2 feet.
Biped. There you go.
Not a pedophile. Yeah, it's not. He's not on
Yes.
Hang on. Monica's got in here. I got help with the Cryptid Riches Group.
Yeah.
Do 2 investigations on my neighbor's house a few years back. It was pretty cool experience. Our neighborhood is active. Some people give me a hard time because they don't believe.
Well, you know what? That's fine. They'll believe what happens to them.
Exactly.
It's not your job to make them believe. It's just you say your experiences, and that's it.
I think too, people, they don't want to believe because it scares them. And so I'm just like, okay, just let that lie. I don't want to prove something to somebody if they're afraid of it.
Right.
So just let it lie.
Yeah. That's fine.
You know about it.
And I have mine, and that's okay. It doesn't mean I think any less of you, or I hope you don't think any less of me. Either way.
Right. A very good friend of mine tells me occasionally, I don't believe in ghosts. And I finally just said, well, you're wrong. Because I'm not going to try and prove it to her. I don't believe in that unless somebody shows some degree of curiosity. Because, like I said, I don't afraid. But she said it so many times that I finally said, well, you're wrong. And that's okay with me.
I've got so many EVPs. I've got so many pictures. I've got all of it. It's like this one here right now. I was looking at this. I was looking around my computer today to find some cool things. I'm trying to find at this location. It was Safeguard. It's an empty building. It's storage, right? But the office, everybody in that office, they would come in nicest people and would turn horrible and steal from the company and everything else, and aches and pains and all this. And this is my son-in-law, actually. He had to have a cadaver bone put in his neck. But here's this thing, and this was the very first EVP I got, and it says, I could cut you up. And every time I went, and I would do these little investigations. It was always, I could cut you, I could cut you, I could cut your throat, I could cut you up. But listen to this.
Why do you hang around this building?
Yeah. So, and then it was like, and that's Class A. You know what I mean? You could hear it as well as have it on the thing, and there is it's a lock. You have to go through locked doors just to get inside. And it's all a brick building, soundproof. It's in an empty parking lot. There is nobody out there. This can't be any kind of, communication from anywhere else. Okay.
It sounded ghostly. Yeah. It sounded ghostly.
Yeah. And when you put it on, WavePad and stuff, it's on the proper channel too,
Is that the asylum?
Voice and our voice. Huh?
Where was that? Was that the asylum?
No, this is a business. This was a Safeguard. They're closed now, but it was a building behind Rotman's in Worcester, Mass. And it was like there were all these buildings were kind of like asylum. They were connected by tunnels. And then there was we did a big investigation on this place. I found out a ton of information on this place. And then I finally released, there were a lot of spirits held there by an angry, short, fat, ugly man who made himself to be this big demon and scared all these other spirits to staying there. Like held
Like
them
a
on.
cult leader.
Yes. And what he did, he was like that. He, in the basement of that building that his parents owned, he would have a bloodletting cult thing that he would get prostitutes and stuff. And I had brought a psychic in that I was working with, George Pookie. Right? So he's like, I see it. There's like 7 tables. He would stand here and they were doing bloodletting things on these girls. And they were using this as like, what do you call it? The ritual type stuff, freaky, crazy stuff, But because this short, fat, ugly man had no real friends, he had to buy them and do stupid things like this. He was just deranged, So when he died, he realized he could have more power. He was very angry spirit. So he sounds like this when, okay, I'm getting rid of him. And he's like, you can't fight skulls, he says to me, like he's like this big thing. So it's on here. Right? Listen to this.
He rules us. He rules this building.
So it's like,
Wow.
Yeah, you can't fight skulls, and that's when I was doing my exorcism and, like in getting them to go. What I was looking for was on the spirit box, there was this Southern woman and she's like, we're free, Julia, come with me, right? It's like, so you could hear all the spirits leaving and him getting angrier and angrier, because this is like, I'm taking his power away from him, And that was like the biggest thing I've ever done for anything like that,
Yeah. I think of skulls and crossbones when he said you can't fight skulls. Like that might be an emblem that they were.
Yeah. Well, in their basement, they kept talking about that there was a book and that I had to stay away from the book. And the book was in a tunnel. And the psychic saw the basement, saw the layout. He said, there's a door that had writing on it. I went down. I asked permission because it was locked. I couldn't go down there. I asked permission to get the keys to go down there. There was an empty elevator shaft, because the elevator shaft doesn't work anymore, and it had writing on it. And then there was a door, had writing on it. Then there was a tunnel, and it was collapsed because it went to the next building that they tore down. So the tunnel that was collapsed, I think, is where they held this book that must have had whatever he didn't want anybody to read, obviously, written in there, And I wonder, I always wanted to go back and just excavate the tunnel to see if I could find this book,
That would be fascinating, wouldn't it?
Oh, I'm telling you. But there's a lot of information and a lot of like what the psychic, what Chris was telling me in my ear or writing it down, what he sees, and he'd write it down, and hand it to me. And then I would ask a question and then they would answer it, what he wrote on that paper, and that I love too for a validation, So that's what I consider, like, I would say, yes, Chris is a psychic. I have something. I don't know what it is, but not like that. I couldn't see down there and see the writing. I took pictures. I have the pictures somewhere. I don't know if it's on this computer or the computer that died or whatever, because that was a while ago, but I took the pictures and he's like, that's it, in the writing right on the doors. It was just, it's mind blowing. So when people say I don't believe in this stuff, I'm just like, okay. That's
it's interesting where people think that they know the limits of the universe too. That's just so fascinating to me. I understand some people's minds work like when I see it, I believe it, and that's okay. If that's who you are. But like to say it's not possible doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
It's like when people say there's no such thing as aliens, we're the only people in the universe. It's like, how obtuse can you get?
Have you
Yeah.
seen the universe?
How can you believe that we are the only creatures out there, the only beings out there? You know,
Pretty
yes, maybe we are the only humans, but there are other life forms out
Yeah,
there.
absolutely. And we have so much proof of that anymore.
I know. All the leaks that used to be leaks is now just like common knowledge, you
Yeah.
know. Now things that are getting leaked are even bigger and badder, you know. It's like, you know.
And I think the momentum is for more and more belief too with that. Just more and more evidence is being gathered all the time.
Yeah.
So
Not just UFOs, you know, UAPs and USOs and all that kind of stuff. I always said that, you know, the Bermuda Triangle was a like a landing zone for aliens.
yeah, that's an interesting place. It's like a vortex or something.
Something, you know, that's maybe they're under the water, and when they have to, you know, move their ships in and out, or their whatever they want to call them, you know, if there's something there that witnessed it, they have to get rid of it, you know. So I think that's why those planes and boats and things go missing.
Yeah. And still haven't been found.
Right. You know, so I mean, some have. There's a lot of wreckage that has been found, but there's a lot that haven't, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mystery. It's a mystery. And someday, you know, not in our lifetime, but someday
Figure it out.
we'll find out. Do you believe in like the past life type stuff and things like that, and our ancestors and reincarnation? Okay.
Yeah. Firmly. Yeah.
Cool beans.
Yeah. The temple of Kriya Yoga where I studied was basically a Hindu, Buddhist, Eastern philosophy location. I learned astrology there primarily, but you know, other things by osmosis, and certainly reincarnation. It's interesting. Reincarnation is something that I thought I made up when I was a little girl. And then when I heard there's a word for it, there's this whole belief system behind it, I thought, and I think that's for me.
Yeah. That it's like, I feel like I'm a very old soul. I think Mama D's a very old soul, but I think I am on my last life. I truly do, because it's like I just don't have the desire anymore. I think I used to, like in all my other lifetimes, and now I'm just like, okay, I'm just kind of, I'm done. You know, I want to go to the next.
That's really interesting, because I was reading recently that it's desire that brings us back.
Yeah.
So
You're not done?
No.
If you're cooked, you're cooked. If you're done, you're done.
Nope,
Yeah.
I'll be back.
I think on my last one. So.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it. I am okay with it. Now, this is something I wanted to bring up. Now, have you encountered this? Is Justine the haunted doll? Okay. Now, I know it's a clown. I know it's freaky and this and that. But there's a story behind that doll that's attached to Bob. Okay. Well, Bob and his old team, he had gotten a call from someone that said that they were having disturbances in the house. And they asked, did you bring in something new into the house? You know, like they heard footsteps running, you know, up and down the hallway, and it sounded like a cap gun going off, right? So he goes, did you bring in anything new? And he said, well, I went to a nursing home yard sale and I bought this doll. And he goes, well, why don't you remove the doll, put it in the garage and see if it still happens. So she puts the doll in the garage, and lo and behold, the sound goes away. Hi, Keith. And so she says, okay, can you come get it? So Bob comes and he picks it up and he throws it in the back of his truck and forgets about it for a little while. And then he looks in the back of his truck, finds it, and says, oh, yeah, all right, I'm going to take this in and I'm going to do some work on it and whatnot. And it's like he's doing EVPs and stuff, and he hears the name Justine. Okay. And then it was like, he said, all right, he called John's office and he called and his buddy Dave. And Dave's like, well, I'm going to bind it and I'm going to take care of it and blah, blah, blah. Well, Dave tried to bind it and he couldn't do it. And, you know, John's like, don't mess with that thing, you know. And then he said, John's office was going to get it first. And then a friend of ours that has a location wanted the doll that would take care of the doll, because she has other things there, and she would have taken care of it nicely, and she did. So we brought it to her, or he brought it to her. Okay, but then we found out more things about this doll. So where it was bought from, there was a nursing home. Okay, the woman that owned the doll, her name was Justine Rose, and she attached herself to the doll, you know, and that's her. Right, even in that weird looking clown doll, that is the woman. Right,
Yeah.
but it likes Bob, because when we go to it's the Knickerbocker Hotel. When we go there and you see Justine, and you can put domes around the doll, and the doll, you know, and it will answer questions and whatnot. But man, it goes crazy when Bob comes in. Like it recognizes, you know.
Interesting.
It's very interesting.
So she must get excited when she sees Bob, right?
You okay over there, Mama?
It's my back. It's having spasms. Sorry.
Oh no.
Okay, I'm good.
Do you need to stand up?
Mute my mic. No, I'll just mute my mic and you won't hear me growl.
Hey, who's ever picking on Mama, leave her alone. Oh, I hate spasms. Oh my God. I just had a shot in my knuckle. It's finally going down. It was like huge, like this. Huge. Oh, God.
Still looks a little big there.
Yeah. Well, by tomorrow we'll be back. Yeah. It's a horrible. But it was getting very, very painful. I mean, to get the shot is very painful, you know. So then it's like, I was posting pictures of it. It was disgusting. But at least I can do this now, you know, where I couldn't before. But pain sucks, especially back. I hate when my back goes out. Let's see. Oh, I wanted to show you this too. Now this is in a library. See that library building up in the corner?
Yeah.
All right. Top floor to the right. That's this window. So we were all sitting up there having, you know, a talk. Actually, I think a psychic was doing the talk. So something was outside that window on that second floor looking in. You know, then I caught that image on the flare. So that was pretty wild too. Like, huh. So even from the outside, they're looking in, curious, you know, because they're just curious about us as we are of them.
It's so fantastic to get that much evidence.
Oh God, that's,
you know,
that's,
and
scratch the surface.
Yeah, and there's so many devices now that serve as proof.
Yeah. We don't make this one, but we use this one. It's called the crosshairs, right? And what it does is it has blue lights and red lights. So it will detect hot or cold. So, you know, when people say, oh, a cold breeze just came by, you can take that device and put it there and say, yes, cold breeze is here. And then you can watch it come and go. And the way that the lights are, it'll be like, you know, you can see what direction it's coming in from, which is kind of cool too, you know. But then we ended up using that as a yes-no device. As a matter of fact, when I was on an investigation with Rich, we were doing the old theater, and we were up in the projection part, and I put it down, and the woman was using it as like a yes-no device that we were talking to. You know? And it liked one of the people that were there for the investigation. They brought candy. That's what sparked the whole thing. And this entity that we were talking to wanted the candy, liked the candy, you know, and then that started a whole conversation. And it was answering yes, no with that, you know, I'm like, well, make it go red for yes and blue for no, you know, and we had a whole conversation.
You know, I find that theaters are often a place that's haunted, and I have my theory around that. Do you? It's not a very good theory, but I do have a theory around it. Do you find that to be true? Have you heard, either one of you, have you heard that theaters are often haunted?
A lot of theaters are, theaters like this, I mean, this one, it was like a play theater, you know, so I think you have very strong spirits, one, you know, that they're projecting themselves and they want to be the star and the whatever, so that they're still hanging around, you know, the workers that are still tending to the building, the people that work there, you know, ushering people in, I think are still there. You know, I think they just, if you're in that industry, you love that industry, just like attaching to a doll. You love that.
Right.
So that's why I think they still stay there.
Yeah. Well, but basically the same thing. I've done a little acting stuff myself, and I find that some of the egos are pretty big. No offense, they're
Yep.
lovely people,
Yep.
but the ego of just wanting the attention, wanting to perform. I mean, when a lot of actors just really love the art
Yes.
and love the attention, and so they try and keep living it. There was a ghost I cleared from a theater by my house who'd been there since 1940. His name was Alfred, and I'd been going to that theater for a while, and then one time I walked in and I told my friend, there's a ghost standing right here. And then I asked the staff if they'd ever heard of, if they ever felt anything, and they all said yes. And so we did an investigation. We got some EVPs, but I think he was a vaudeville guy. He was born around the turn of the century. And I believe he overdosed in the theater. He thought he was killed, I think. I don't know how you think you're killed when you overdose.
Well, probably because, they wanted to take his stardom away from him. You know what I mean? Like if the ego is going to come to play.
Yes.
They're larger than life. They're not going to overdose.
Could be egos. He was a gay man in the 40s when he died, and I think he felt it was because of that, which maybe it was, but he died of an opiate overdose. So maybe somebody did intentionally give him too much or bad stuff, or I don't know that much about how opiates were in the 40s, but he died there, and he used to, kind of an interesting story. He how did it start? So I walked in and I asked the staff if an investigation could happen. And there was, and we got him answering some questions when we found him. And one of the questions was, can we do anything to help you feel more comfortable? And he said, home. And then I took that as a sign that he wanted to leave. He was ready to go. He wanted to go home. And he followed me home that night after I didn't do anything for him. I didn't clear him, but he followed me home. And it was the most repressive, upset, not angry, but desperate energy. It felt horrible. It was like a dark cloud in my house. And I let it stay for a few days because I like to kind of feel things and try and figure things out. But I took that also as a hint that he was highly disappointed that nobody helped him. And so I went back and I told him, look, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna help you, but I have to get the permission from the theater, et cetera, et cetera. Then I learned that another group wanted to come in and get their own evidence. And I had told him when I was going to plan on coming back. But the people who were going to be doing the investigation were coming after that. So I had to go back to the theater and say, Alfred, I'm really sorry. I have to break our appointment. And I could hear him sigh like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the theater, when I finally got to ask them, they said, we don't want you to clear him. We like him now. We were scared of him, but now that we had this talk with him and you convinced me that he was a nice person, he was looking out for everybody, he was a gentle soul, we're okay with him. And I said, but I think
he wants to go home.
I think he connected me for that reason. I think he said home for that reason. I think that depression was for that reason. But very, very wisely, the theater, one of the theater people who were there with me on that night, because I invited them in. She sat down with a tape recorder and she asked him, how do you feel about Breannan coming back tonight? Because I was going to come back that night and talk to them about, look, let me talk to you face to face, about this. You told me no, but let me come in and talk to you. And he said, good, very clearly. She said, how do you feel about Breannan coming back? He said, good. So they called off our meeting and they just allowed me to clear him.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Because that's the other thing people, gotta realize too. It's like, yeah, they want to keep a ghost in a location to make money, and it's like, yeah, well, that might not be good for the ghost,
Yeah. It's almost vogue. Some people think it's really vogue. And out here, I think some businesses do believe it increases clientele, and some don't. Some don't allow investigations. Some don't allow us, don't want us to talk about it, write about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you were funny when you said the gay guy. That reminded me of this I had a short little stint with this gay guy, Travis, in my house. I get up in the morning And Bob brings me coffee in my bedroom before he goes to work, right? So I wake up and I drink my coffee, and then I go downstairs. I'm going to go fill my coffee cup up. So I'm walking through my kitchen, and I can look, and I see in my nook a man standing there. He's got khaki pants on, a white shirt. He's got a saucer and a cup, and he's drinking, and he's staring out my window. And I looked, and I'm like, I don't even want to know right now. I just walked over and got my coffee and went upstairs. My friend Tammy and her boyfriend Rich were coming over that weekend. I told her about it, and then we're trying, because she's an investigator too, and we were just doing some EVP stuff and things in the house, and because she's like, I want to investigate, because of all the activity here. So we're doing some EVPs. Now this guy Travis comes in. First of all, he followed us on every floor in here and was overpowering everybody else, right? Mama D, I don't know who you're talking to, but you're muted. Oh, okay. All right, because you are muted. And so this guy Travis follows us through the floors. He's telling us his story that there was 3 guys. Right, so it was Travis and this guy that were either married or together or whatever. And this guy took him away from Travis, but they killed Travis. Okay, and I'm like, well, how did you die? And they said, fire, right? So he was burned, fire, and then it said propane. I'm like, propane? What the heck? How? I'm like, was it a camper? Was it how intentional? I have no idea how that was. So now Tammy's like all intrigued about everything, because when we're listening to all this stuff, and we got a lot more information and stuff that is not appropriate for this show. Saying things we did not need to hear. Okay, he was the best man. Like, okay, we don't need to know anything else. Bob was like, because he's very homophobic. But like, okay, we don't need to know all that. The story is fine. But Tammy, was trying to look up information. If anyone died in a fire. I'm like, yeah, but he's not giving us a date. But he had khaki pants and a white nice shirt with a cup and a saucer, what I mean? So it can't be too far back, Yeah. I mean, I did what I could to try to find out, but I have no idea, I'm like, I got no more information, and then he's gone, Yeah. So I don't know.
It was there for a good time, not a long time.
Right? It's like
has a ghost or an entity ever been frightening to you?
To me? Yeah. Yes. I did everything bad. When I did everything bad, I went from Massachusetts to Staten Island to pick up someone that's on my team. We drove from there all the way down the Trans-Allegheny, investigated all night. So I haven't slept, okay? Investigated all night. Then we went over to Hillview, investigate there. Then I drove him all the way back to Staten Island. And then I drove, and I was going through North Andover, so I went by the Houghton Mansion. And there's a cemetery and the Hoosac Tunnel. And, I'm like, well, I'm never in this area, so I'm going to stop by here. And that's where Witters killed the daughter of A.C. Moore and all this kind of stuff in the very first car that was in that area, and a lot of stuff. There's a Mason building that's attached to the Houghton Mansion. So it's a big, long story. You can look it up, okay? But I went to the cemetery, and I went to the Hoosac Tunnel by myself, right? And I took a spike and a brick home. Now, I am the first one to tell you that on any place you go to, you do not take anything, not a grain of sand home with you, nothing, right? But I'm not in my right mind, okay? So I'm very tired, overtired, and now I want to get home. I'm still 2.5 hours away from home, right? So I get home, I throw all this stuff downstairs, and I'm finally sleeping. Well, this thing that I believe was attached to the spike or the brick, okay, very evil thing was in my house. He started doing a lot of damage, okay? Blew up my television, blew up my computer, my printer, not all at once, not like lightning struck the house, right? This was like over a week span of time. So it was first the television, then the computer, then the printer, and then I was going to work. I come home, and I'm like, this has got to be something, and it's like, that was all my addition that I built. It's all new wiring. It's all new everything. There's nothing wrong with that. It's like overbuilt because I'm OCD, right? Way overbuilt. Even the inspector said you didn't need to do all this. I said, yeah, it is my house. But anyway, and then my husband's dead at this point. Okay. But I come home and I'm trying to clean. I have a pool. I'm trying to clean the pool. I have a little teeny dog. He's big, little teeny dog in the house. My kitchen is beautiful because I'm an interior designer, decorator. There's a glass top stove that I never use because it's pretty. And above it is like, a very expensive microwave that I use all the time, but it's very expensive. And I have a cooktop that I always use, a gas cooktop. That's what I use, right? But never the glass stove. So I come in, I look at Lacey, hi Lacey, bye Lacey, go out, I'm doing the pool. I come back in, I look over and I'm like, what the hell? Something smashed. I thought it smashed my stove, but there was all like shards of glass covered the entire top of the stove. I'm like, what the hell is this? And then I look up, it's the microwave that smashed, like something hit it. And then all the glass came down onto the stove top. And I'm like, that's it. Then I bring out the recorders and I'm like, who the hell are you? What's going on? What do I got to do that you're going to show yourself to me because I want to see you, right? Do you know that EVP said, sacrifice your dog? And I said, that is it. You're out of here. I don't even want to know any more about you. I called Joni. I called up the whole crew. I said, yeah, I'm going to need you guys to come here to help me to clean this house because I never dealt with anything like this,
Yeah. How long did you live like that?
Oh, it was gone. It was like, about a week span of this shit going on. And and then the other thing was this. I was in bed and, because now like I had a big dog. The big dog is dead. And I thought the big dog jumped up on the bed because you feel a bump, bump, bump across the bed. And then I look over and I always have a TV on. So there's a faint light of the TV that lights the room. It looked like a giant tarantula was coming down from the ceiling. It was like this black ball like this, like all wispy and stuff coming straight down. And I think I butt jumped out of the bed because I'm that afraid of spiders, right? So I jumped out of the bed and whipped the light on right away. And there's nothing. I looked everywhere. I mean, if it was a big spider, that big, it would not be able to run and hide that quickly,
I don't think there are spiders that big, maybe in the jungle.
Yeah, I know. But still, when you were waking up out of and you see that thing coming down, oh my God, so that happened at that point too, at that time,
That's dark energy. Yeah.
That was really dark, really, really dark.
Yeah. I bet you felt it very strongly because you're.
And what did we learn from this episode?
Don't take anything home, but don't investigate 90,000 places with no sleep too. I mean, it was just a fluke thing that the way everything happened. And I was I was so wide awake. I was so overtired. I was so wide awake. That's why I stopped and did these things on the way home. You know what I mean? But you're still not in your rational mind because you're still sleep deprived, even though you're wide awake because you get like that little thing that clicks. Like a lot of times we'd be investigating 1, 2, 3 in the morning. You're like, all right, I just want to go sleep 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden you're like awake, like something happens and you're awake, It was like that for days and days and days. But I had everybody come and help me clear the house and and then it was gone. It moved on to somewhere else. I don't even know where. I don't even know what it was. I didn't want to ask it any more questions. You say sacrifice my dog? That's my child. You're done. I could have liberated it. If I had known Pookie at the time, I would have had him obliterate it, into something else.
So is that why you have the policy not to bring things with you from that? That's a good policy, isn't it?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's exactly. And I said it before. I knew this. I've always said this. Do not. Because people go in abandoned buildings and you see them. Some lady, she got caught. She was on a film on the news and everything, taking stuff out of buildings and selling it,
With the ghost hunter group?
Yep. Yeah.
Oh,
and then she's denying it on film and everything. And it's like, you've got a site that has stuff for sale. You're caught. Admit it. You know what I mean? But you don't know what you're selling to those people. You don't know what's attached to those things from these places. I mean,
so what do you think about antique shops?
Oh, I wouldn't buy anything from an antique shop without at least checking it out with an EMF meter. But I went into an antique shop and I bought this chair that I'm sitting in from an antique shop. Right, right next to it, there was a mink coat on a thing, and it was like I turned the corner and I knew to stay away from that mink coat.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I'm just like, oof. And I'm talking to Bob too, and I'm like, I wonder if I should tell them that they really shouldn't have this out here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then he's like, no, don't do that. You know, and I'm like,
That's Bob.
I'm like, yeah, but someone's gonna end up in a world of hurt with that thing in their house. You know?
I've heard that antique shops are also often haunted. It makes sense, doesn't it?
Oh, they would
Antique
make
shops, theaters, hospitals, asylums.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy. Have you investigated or gone into any like abandoned hospital? I had to paint a mural because I'm an artist, right? I had to paint a mural in a hospital and they close at night. You know, it's not a hospital that they stay in, it's a treatment hospital, you know what I mean? And I was painting a underwater scene in the children's dermatology ward, you know, but I had to go through the entire building dragging my cart with all my paints and everything, you know, in the dark by myself because the guard would just let me in the doors and shut the doors. I'd have to call him when I'm done for the night, you know, let me out. And then so walk back. That was a little freaky.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've only been actually scared once, and that was before I really understood that what I was experiencing as a child and beyond were ghosts. Like I never considered categorizing it. Even when I saw her at home, I didn't even think it was. I didn't make the connection that what she was a ghost. And but one time I'm sitting by myself at a friend's house with them being gone. My friends were gone. It was a sunny day afternoon, and there was a gentleman in front of me. I was otherwise by myself, who I believe would have killed me if he was alive. I just felt the hatred, the resentment. He was a small man, but his hate and vitriol towards me was so intense that I froze, and I even closed my eyes and I couldn't move. And I even when I had the second most scary experience, when I had an out-of-body experience, I mean, this was worse because I absolutely froze and I closed my eyes and I told myself, this can't last forever, just wait it out. And that worked. I don't know how long I was there frozen in fear, but that works. Eventually I felt him leave, and then I remember just exhaling. And then I told myself, that doesn't mean he's gone. It just means I'm not feeling it. He could still be here.
Yeah.
But I thought, but then that's okay. If I don't feel him, that's okay. I'm not bothered if I can't feel him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's intense. And even then I'm like, I don't know what just happened. By then I was about I don't know, 17. It was after I saw the two spirits at Spirit Lake that I figured it all out. But until then, it was like, I don't know what's going on. I didn't even talk to people about it.
Wow, that is freaky. I don't like that feeling. Like I know when ahead of time because of the tone thing. So if that low tone starts coming, I'll get leery and I'll be on alert. You know what I mean? And especially if I have a group of people, it's so helpful. You know, it's like, well, let's go this way. You know, stay away from that. You know what I mean? I think I heard something over here. You know, and it's like, we'll just leave you over there.
Yeah.
But I'll be looking out for it, and then until I don't hear that low tone anymore, you know, it's like okay.
I worked with ghosts who've had histories of like killing people, and a lot of criminals. Some shadow people I've worked with, and it wasn't scary because their anger wasn't really directed at me, and I didn't feel that threatened. I also remind myself now that I know what's going on. This person could hurt me a lot more living than dead. If this person was alive, I'd be in trouble. Dead, not so much.
Right.
And so I got through some of that, but the anger doesn't concern me, but the hatred and not wanting me there, which has only happened that one time, luckily so far.
Yeah, that was that guy. I could cut you guy, and you could avoid skulls guy, and there was a lot of them. Get out, get out, get out, get out, all the get outs, you know, all that stuff. And what are you doing when I was letting people go?
And it's personal. It's not just I'm angry because I hate my life or my death or whatever's going on. Nothing works well for me. It's
It was
direct.
it's an intelligent haunt. It's directing its anger towards you. You know, it's like it knows its target, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I see why people, run out of their houses. I've cleared houses. I'm sure you have too. People haven't been in for 2 years, 5 years, whatever.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
people too got to be, we got a call too about a house. Someone from California was buying a house around here that used to be a funeral home, and they move in and there's all this activity and stuff. And their first clue should have been, hi, Lisa, the Virgin Mary in the, like in the bathtub like thing was facing the house when they got there.
Yeah.
I would have been like,
That should make you question things.
but then when they found out the history and stuff, we were going to go do an investigation and go help them and stuff. And then they found out the history of the place, and now that they know what it is and what was going on, now they're more comfortable. But it was like things were startling them,
Yeah.
Well, if you ever want anything cleared, then just let us know, But in the meantime, if you're content, you're okay, then okay,
Yeah.
But look into your properties. Like they didn't tell you that this was a funeral home.
But some places,
I would assume that they would have to reveal these things before.
Right?
some states have to reveal hauntings in real estate.
Yes.
Some don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'd be like, this happened and this happened and this happened, but you could sell tickets for that.
I think where I live in Oregon, you have to reveal that if you think it's haunted, which is very interesting because I don't think.
I mean, I think there's a little thing that's on the side, right? Isn't there?
Some people probably buy it because it's haunted.
Someone in the chat room has a good question for you. How would you know if something bad has attached to you?
Because you change.
You feel it.
Yeah, and your attitude changes. And usually when you wake up, because Joan, you're like so happy and bubbly. If you wake up all of a sudden like, what are you saying good morning for? You know what I mean? Like your attitude would change to violent or vulgar or whatever, or it's depending on what's attached to you, but you change.
It's like you have a different persona. You're not yourself.
Be Mama D swearing all the time. That wouldn't be a good thing.
Yeah, that wouldn't be right,
No, something's wrong there.
They also can
That or somebody really ticked me off.
They can possess too. They can take control of your body.
You got to know the difference because there is an attachment like a cord, like their attached cord. You can just do a cord cutting, but a possession is a full,
Full body thing,
yeah, a walk-in like a possession.
You could feel it
A
through and
walk.
through.
Yeah,
Good question.
that's a really good question.
Hopefully that was that helped the answer.
Yeah.
She knows a lot of this stuff, but it was.
I know, but she's being nice and she's asking good questions. Thanks, Joan.
I love Joan. Joan's going to be on a Netflix show.
Ooh, do tell. She'll have to come on and tell us all about it after.
I know. When she's all done filming, we'll have her as a guest.
Oh, wait. That's when she'll be a superstar.
Hey,
2
you see
minutes.
what time it is?
2 minutes.
God, I don't want you to leave.
I didn't see what time it is. I'm just.
It's like 2
It's
minutes left.
9:58. 2 minutes left of the show.
Bye.
2 hours just zip by.
I know. I don't want you to go. I really don't.
Fun.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that you said you weren't into the paranormal and you weren't psychic. Then all of a sudden, 45 minutes, an hour and 15 minutes later, you talk about guardian angels. And I'm like, well, I've been directing all my questions to Gina B because this is a paranormal thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, you weren't even being.
I jump in when it's necessary. I jump in, put my 2 cents in.
So you've got something going on too. You've got a paranormal thing.
Well, that's what I do for work. I do it. So it's what I do for work.
I've never been on a paranormal investigation. There are two people that I will, two groups of people that I will definitely be the first ones. Whoever gets me first gets to flip a coin who I go with. And look at Gina's face.
Yeah.
It's Gina and her crew and Jay Lynch and his paranormal mysteries crew. Those are the two groups of people that I go.
I'll let you go with them, but you got to come with me first.
Oh, definitely. I'll go with Jay and them, and then I'll come live with you.
Okay.
Scared of garbage out of ball.
That would be hilarious.
No.
That would be hilarious. Yeah, but I've been doing this for like 30 years.
Yeah. But Mama D is also
Yeah.
something going on. That's what I was saying. Is that originally before we got on, she was saying, "No, I'm not the paranormal person," but she is.
Oh,
Yeah.
I believe. I have no doubts. I believe 100%. I never doubt it, but I've never I've never seen a ghost. I feel spirit. Sometimes I have
There
spirit
it
will
is. You
come
feel
through
them.
me.
Not
But
everybody feels them.
yeah.
Not everybody feels them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to see them. I don't see them all the time. I
You
know
could be
they're
a
there.
guest, Mama D. You could be a guest. Talk about what you've experienced, right?
That's true. That's true. And we'll have the angel guy next week, so I'll really be into that one.
There you
Yeah,
go.
next week.
Yeah,
Yep, because
shut
she's
me
all
up.
about angels. Yeah, we do. We have this guy here. We got this box full of stuff,
Which I'm so jealous of.
and
Oh,
it's
wow.
like it's this whole box, and it
You're all
comes.
set.
This is the time when being in Canada
We're
sucks.
talking about angels, so I have an Archangel Michael candle. It comes with a couple crystals. I have to read this book before next week, and then it's a hefty
I
one.
want this book.
So, yeah,
Well, you like to read. I can tell by your background.
I do.
She does.
I know your book. I wish it was bigger. You
I
know,
know,
'cause
I
you
know.
could have written a lot more. You know, now that I met you, oh my God, you could have written.
I was so done with it. I tried to write it while I was still working a very intense job, and I was just like, I'm done. Plus, I was trying to make it so that teenagers could enjoy it, and I tried to make it very basic.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is
makes
very
sense.
basic,
And
which
that's
is it is good for a lot of people that don't like to sit and read a lot, and you
I
got
will have to go
you know. So this is
therapy
great.
shopping there.
Oh, it could be your lunch break book.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's great, or just a reference book to look and go. Oh, wait a minute. Now I know she said this about. Okay, now let's see, becoming a ghost. You know, and then you can read that the stages, the ghost versus spirits, all that type of stuff. You have all that in there. You have a lot of reference points too, which is good, like referencing other books that are really good in the field too. So
So in other words, I have to go retail therapy.
yeah. I mean, that book is down in the corner there, but The Nature of Ghosts,
Ma'am.
Breannan Matris. Now, is that on Amazon?
Yes, it's on Amazon.
I have to check it on Amazon.
As an author on Amazon?
In Canada.
Yeah.
Are you going to be writing more books?
I'm thinking about writing a book about clearing.
Cool.
Maybe we
Well,
should do it together. Yeah.
That's needed.
Kind of gathering some information on that. Yeah.
Sweet.
Well, you know that when it's
I have
done,
a
you definitely have to give us a call and we'll have you back on.
Great. We'll do.
I have a cool little thing here, a cool little shamanistic clearing thing. So whichever way the north is, the north spirits are the ground, and the east is the air, and the west is fire, and the south is water. And you can do that while you're smudging, so you can go 4 wafts to the north, to the south, to the east, and talking to those spirits, and then to Father Sky. And when you were talking about the woman touching the ground, I do that because when I cleanse each room, it's like I do my wafts to Father Sky and Mother Earth. I bend down and then I seal the room by touching. I'm on my knee and I touch the ground, and then I seal the door with holy water. You know what I mean? And then I go out. So there's different ways that I do those things too.
Yeah. Great. It really is holy work. It really is what we do.
Yeah, and you got to stay focused and you got to not get distracted. I do EVPs while I'm doing it, and when I did that for the little boy that I was clearing, and I started upstairs by his room, and the EVP, the guy said, "Oh, I'm gonna get blessed now," right? Like taunting me, and that's because I pulled out holy water, and I'm like, "You're gonna get blessed, right?"
A lot of personalities on that side of things sometimes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, you never know exactly who you're dealing with, but as long as they got people like you too, to help clear out these things, it's needed. You know what I mean? It's really needed.
It's helpful. Yeah.
It is. It's important.
Yeah. It's
And
true.
she does, personal type cleansings. She's a Reiki master, so
Nice. Yeah.
I'm I'm what you call a healer. I heal the mind, the body, and the soul. I won't say I'm a psychic or a medium or a whatever. I'm a healer.
Yeah. Well, welcome. We
Yeah.
need healers. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because once you clear all this stuff out, the body and the soul needs the
There
healing.
you go. No,
Yeah,
you just heal my back.
That's really true.
Mm.
Especially when you bring them home.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't like bringing them home. Brought a little girl home I had to cross over to. That was from Trans-Allegheny, that place with the heat footsteps.
Yeah,
They have a room with all these toys, and all these people were like yelling at this little girl to do something, and she's scared to death, and she's standing behind me and she's crying, and I'm like, leave her alone, and I'm like, stay with me. I said, just stay with me. And then we went to another part of the building. Well, she ended up staying with me for sure. She came home with me, and all she did was scream and cry in my house, and it's like, oh my God, and then I finally got her to stop. It was like, trying to talk to a hysterical child. You got to get them to stop screaming so that they can hear you.
Yeah.
Tough.
So they can focus. Yeah.
And then she finally crossed her. I was like, geez.
Well, she's lucky that she found you.
Yeah, because she must have been tormented there for a long time, because it's everyone that went into that room was like, oh, this little girl that wants to play with the toys, and they're like barking at her to play with this and touch that and do this and do that. It's like, oh, what's that? You don't want that. What? God.
Well, ladies, it is 10:06.
Oh my God. Well, it was just.
It was great.
It was really. I'm so glad we got to do this. I was really looking forward to it. How's life without your other dog? Without your dog?
Horrible.
Takes a long time, doesn't it?
I told you I could let you have Coco.
I'll take him.
She's a lap dog.
Oh, lap dogs are really hard to lose. I lost my dog on vacation last year, and that was just awful. Yeah. I mean, he was very old, but
yeah.
Anyway,
These are my babies right there. So I lost Biscuit, I lost Lacey, I lost Dad.
Like the little ones.
All within. So
those are real lap dogs.
My dad last year, my mom this year, Biscuit this year, and Lacey was the last tie to my late husband.
Oh yeah. Those ties. Yeah. You have another one? I see one in your future, though. A crystal ball.
I keep saying I can't do it. I can't do it.
It's more munch. If you went into a count, what are they called?
The rescue.
A rescue?
Yeah, rescue. So you'd come home with a dog.
Oh yeah, sure.
If you don't want a dog, don't go there. But if you go there, you're coming home with one.
I'm telling you, I live vicariously through everyone else's fur babies now. I'm just like, if they bring them over, or if I see them walking down the street, I'm like, can I catch your baby?
Can I put that dog?
I just love them so much.
Thank you so much. I'm actually on call now.
Oh, okay.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. It was wonderful.
Oh,
nice to meet you.
Very, very nice to meet you. I gotta find my exit video. I have so much stuff on here right now. Here we go. Okay, so ciao for now. Next week we're gonna be talking about angels. This week ghosts, next week angels. And I do hope to have you back on sometime. Just yap some more stories, things. It helps people. And I love you. I love you. Thank you.
Good night, Bree.
Too. Bye. Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D. We are here every Thursday evening from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, bringing you a variety of guests or our own intuitive oracle card reading shows. We are streaming live on Facebook on my personal page and our YouTube channel, The Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D, on Mama D's YouTube channel, Angel Meadows, as well as our audio-only venues. We hope you enjoyed our show and our guest or your reading, and we would love it if you would go to our YouTube channel, The Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D, subscribe, share, and definitely hit that notification button to never miss a show. We'll see you all next week, and subscribers, watch for our pop-up shows as well.